go.
Thanks. This would be Wednesday, April 15th, advanced class as we begin Gospel according to Larry and talk about the excitement of your book reports. Looking on your book report sheet, what you're going to have to do coming up is the first 3 stories. Where it says on the front page, you have to at least start them on the front page. If you've looked at newspapers, there are these paper things that you have to get delivered to houses. They'll begin like the first 2 or 3 paragraphs of the story on the front page and make you turn to another page to finish it. You have to at least begin all 3 stories on the front page, and then you can finish out the rest from somewhere else. Your headline is going to be the most important thing that's going on in the book. If we were doing our book of the program, it would be kids committing suicide everywhere, new program starts up to save them. And so that would be your overall story. Then you would do 2 smaller stories that are going to come from it. One would be creepy guy at program facility gets fired. And you would do a story about, what was creepy guy's name?
Roger.
Creepy thing about Roger. And then you could do another one about girl finds love of her life after getting mind wiped. And so something about what's her face, going back and finding what's his face and stuff. And so those would be your 3 stories, although you'd probably replace what's their face with actual names. So you're going to have 3 different stories going throughout the whole thing. Clark.
What if you have like a book where you don't exactly have one major thing?
What book?
Black Beauty.
Yeah, you just have to find something that you think works. If there's not like a major overall thing, so it sort of follows the little horsey stuff, then whatever you think would work for that one. Victor?
For the checkpoint on Friday, are you gonna ask us for like a sentence describing each?
Yeah, you're gonna fill it out tomorrow. I'll have a little sheet for you.
But or is it
You're gonna give me a headline title, and you have to explain why it's important to the story. Sammy?
For the headline story. Oh, man.
Good stuff. Hannon?
So our book has to be done by tomorrow?
Your book report book?
Yeah.
No, it had to be due by Monday. So 2 days ago.
It was?
Yeah, good stuff. Then the next thing on there, editorials. Advertisements. Advertisements are going to be when a company is trying to sell you stuff. So that would be for the program, you would have the Quick Death would be an example. And so you could say, buy Quick Death, come and die. And so you're going to have like a price and where you can buy it and stuff like that. Or it could be something that doesn't exist, but the character wants to have it. Magic memory uneraser pill, and you take the pill and it magically unerases your memory or something, but it doesn't exist, but you want to work it in there. So that would be advertisements, so things that the characters would want to buy. Editorials are opinion pieces. It'll work because today in our book, The Gospel According to Larry, we get to an editorial, so it becomes a really good example to try and help you out. But an editorial is going to be an opinion piece. Teenagers' minds should be wiped because we can't trust them with their own memories because most teenagers are stupid. And that would be your editorial piece. It has to be something that we can argue. You can't have your editorial be 10 people die on an island. That's not something we can argue. You're just saying people died. If you put down killing people who make you grumpy is a good thing, that's something we can argue about. That's editorial. So it has to be something where you have a stance you take on it. Sammy?
Okay, for the headline, main story, does it have to cover the whole story or just the main point?
The main part of the book.
So, like, you wouldn't have to go through and explain, like, what happened, just the main, like, if you were to kind of something that we put on the back of the book. Okay.
Eddie?
Okay, 2 questions. For the advertisements, mine's about bunnies, so I don't know how I could do something for bunnies.
We'll pretend that bunnies have money, they can buy stuff.
Buy
We
carrots.
get to do, yeah.
Okay.
Magic carrots, like when they go on their like little bunny backpacks. Because they would have liked to have a little bunny backpack for that big long journey they do. And they could probably use a good bunny sword when they get attacked by the other bunnies. And so, even though, like, how are they going to hold the sword? Don't worry about that. You're just going to hit with the stuff. Have like a little magic strap on, like an elastic strap. Done.
Okay, so then for the editorials, do you have one topic and 2 different opinions on that topic? Or is it
Your
one
choice.
story?
You can do one topic and 2 sides, or just a side of 2 different stories. I'm happy either way. Carol?
So I have a partner in
Yes.
the paper we're filling out tomorrow.
You're going to get tomorrow, you each get your own copy of it, and you're each going to show it to me, your own piece of paper. With your partner, you're going to get together and talk to them, so you probably have very similar stuff. But you're each going to write your own thing. Nailed it. Hannon.
So for tomorrow, our book has to be done though?
Next up, you have the different other sections that are on there. For the other sections, here's where you're going to choose 3 of these. The first one is obituaries. What is it obituaries deal with?
Death.
You have to have death in your book. If no one dies in your book, you can't choose an obituary. If you have a lot of death in your book, then that would probably be a pretty obvious one. Now, it depends. If you're doing And Then There Were None, you have 10 people who die in your book. So you have a whole bunch you can write for an obituary. You're probably going to do a paragraph or so about each person, maybe a little bit less because you have so much. Don't just list them and put Bob, dead, Joe, dead, Susie, dead. You have to actually give me information about them. If you only have one major character that dies in your book, if you were doing Where the Red Fern Grows, you'd be like, Old Anne dies, the dog. You're going to write up a whole bunch of information about that one. Spoiler alert. And so you're going to have a bunch of information in that one. So you're still going to give me, several paragraphs. It just depends on whether you break it up between one person or a whole bunch of people. Carol, you asking about obituaries? You seem confused.
Well, does it count as like animals die?
Yeah. As long as they're important to the story. That's fine. Yeah.
Does each person that dies count as one obituary?
No. What would be, you could be one person that you write a whole bunch about, or multiple people you write a little bit about. It's up to you.
What?
You can either do one person that you write a whole bunch about, or a lot of people that, okay, now you're with me. Sports! If you have sports in your story, this is where it will connect to them. Some stories have no sports whatsoever. That's going to make it a little bit tougher on you. But if you have now you can get creative. If you're doing War of the Worlds, you could have alien dodging or something like that. The trick is, you have to make sure that you tie it into your book. Don't just call it alien dodging and then not refer to any events that happen in your book. You need to actually recall things so I can tell that you're tying it in there. Don't just be like, oh, I saw an alien on the cover, so I'm going to put alien dodging and just write about random stuff. That does not prove to me that you read your book at all. That proved to me that you saw a picture of an alien and just wrote stuff. So you want to tie stuff in from the events of your book. So make sure you're working it in that way. You can be creative. Just be creative while you're actually showing me that it has stuff from the book in there. Classified as are like advertisements, but they're being sold by people. So classified ads are when people sell stuff. eBay is classified ads. Craigslist is classified ads. Where you're saying, hey, I no longer need this TV. Do you want to come and buy it? That would be a classified ad. So you could say, bunny skin, hardly used, been dead 3 days. If you'd like to skin it, use it yourself. And so you could have like a bunny selling little bunny skins. I don't know. Or the program, you could be like, hey, bedroom set, boy, died recently. And then you could go through there and say, sister no longer needs it. She doesn't even remember them. And so you could go through and have them selling it. It has to connect to your book in some way. But you're having them sell or buy stuff. You could have them trying to find things if you want. Movie guide. You are creating movies. So you have to come up with your own make-believe movie that connects to your book. And you're going to write a little review of that movie. Was it good? What's it about? Who's in it? Stuff like that. That'll tie back to your actual book. Don't just go to the movie section of a paper and go, cut, 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 slap, done. It doesn't work that way. If you did the movie or the book Dracula, you can't just write up a review for the movie Dracula and be like, done, Wikipedia, cut, paste. It doesn't work. You have to actually create your own movie and give it a review and come up with the connections to it. Interview with a character. If you interview a character, they can be dead. They can die during the story. You can have an interview that occurred at the beginning of the story. You can have an interview that occurred at the end of the story. I'm fine with it. However you work it in there to show that you understand what's going on in the book. The interview is absolutely fine with me as long as you're showing me what's happening and connecting. You could say that we're speaking to you via a medium because you are now dead. How does it feel to be dead? Oh, I didn't like it. There was a lot of stabbing involved. That's fine. And you have a little interview where you can have part of it, them alive, part of it. However, I'm fine with it. Be creative. Daily living is just the entertainment section. It depends if you have one where they deal with fashion because it was the Jane Eyre or Pride and Prejudice and all they do is talk about how good they look in clothes and how come this guy doesn't like this girl, blah, 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 stab me in the eye. Then you would probably do a little fashion section. You could do, if it deals with a lot of food, you could have a cooking section. You could have an advice section in there. My boyfriend lives in 18th century England and all he does is ride horses. What should I do to get his attention? And whatever. You can do a little advice section and make a little connection like that. Letters to the editor is the same thing as editorials, but they're just written by random people. So editorials are written by people who work for the newspaper. Letters to the editors where like you write in and just go on a rant. That is so stupid. Why would you write a newspaper article about vampires? Vampires are the stupidest thing ever. And so you would just go through and you would have like a little opinion piece. If you're good about writing your opinion and ranting about things, that's where letters to the editor come in. Now, make sure it connects to your book. Just don't friend. My shoes are too tight. I don't want to have to wear shoes today. It makes me feel. That's not going to work. But make sure it connects to your story. The last one is the extra credit. Crossword puzzles, you can come up with those. Comics, you have to actually draw them and write them. Don't just cut out a Garfield and then slap it in there and be like, this guy, kitty cat, that's cute. No, you have to actually draw it and connect it to your story. The weather, if your book has weather in it, that could work. If your book never mentions weather, not so much. If you're doing Wizard of Oz, there's a tornado. That's weather. So you would have a connection. Pretty straightforward. And so it deals like a big storm, pretty easy to connect. Political cartoons are the cartoons that make fun of the government in some way, usually a single panel. That's really easy. You just Google political cartoon and it'll come up with tons of different advice and ideas for you. Shumeg?
Could you do like one of those things where like they have like the people like ask a question and then like some person responds?
Yeah, that's the advice column.
Really?
Yeah. That's fine.
Where?
In the daily living.
Oh, get it.
Me too. Eddie!
Can